All right, boys and girls, now we're on to question number 9, and this is an extended constructive response question. And when we look at this, we see so many words and we get overwhelmed by seeing all of this and thinking to ourselves, how are we going to do this? So I'm going to show you on my paper, I wrote number 9, okay? And I'm going to write the word race on top because I know I'm going to use the race strategy for this question. And if we remember, RACE stands for R, restate, A, answer, C, cite, and E, explain. So all I'm going to do is write RACE on top, and that's just going to guide me to make sure I'm using all the parts. Now, I am going to look at my question, and it says, explain how Herbie's behavior changes and how this is developed by the playwright. Now, we remember the playwright is the person who wrote the play. Now, I want you to highlight what I've highlighted here. I highlighted the fact that there are 2 parts to this question. This is the first part, this is the second part. And I also put in a box, essay. So when you see essay, you're mostly going to have 2 parts to that question that need to be answered. All right, so we're going to use the race strategy. Now, all of these are important things, just like I've mentioned. These are important. But you don't have to answer them like a race strategy question per thing, okay? We're looking at what's highlighted. That's the question. All right, so we're going to restate first, which is the R. And we're going to say Herbie's behavior changes. And we can say something as simple as in the following ways in the story. So that is my R. So I'm going to circle my R because I already did it. That's restating. But of course, that's only the first part. So how are some ways he changed? So then that's where you go back to the story and say, okay, his behavior changes. And we're going to write Herbie's behavior changes when, and then you can say when he changed, when his behavior changed. I'm not going to give you the whole answers, but Herbie's changes when. That's going to be part of our answer. And when we cite something, that means we go back and we write, we could use it here. Herbie's behavior changes when, and then you could say he talks to his sister, or in line 9, or anything like that. That's where you go and you cite something from the story. And to explain means that you explain why. So let's say Herbie's behaviors change. Let's write that. Herbie's behavior changes. Herbie's behavior changes when his sister says, and she's talking about his spelling, when she tells him an easy way to study in line, and we could say line 21, period. So right here, we've answered it, and we actually cited because we said line 21. So the last thing we need to do is explain, okay? If in line 21 she says something, we can say she used an example. She used the example apes use radishes. Apes use radishes. Period. So now right there in what I've written, I have used the race strategy. Now I'm not done because this question has 2 parts. So now you're going to do the other. Now you don't have to use the behavior, the one I used. You can use whichever one you want. Look at this throughout the passage. How many times did his behavior change? Maybe from being sad to happy, and then excited. So you can point out all of those things. But that is how you use the race strategy. So keep going and answering this question. You still have another part.